What's good, everybody? Is when I'm coming back at you on a video. So I'm super excited to be recording this video because this is a very important concept that I want you guys to understand and remember day to day all throughout your life. And that concept is this: that everything in life happens for a reason. Now, rather than me just going through and explaining all this, right, I will much rather bring up an example to help illustrate this idea for you. So this comes from a famous movie. You may have heard of it or have seen it in the past. It came out a few decades ago. It's called Slumdog Millionaire. And the movie goes as follows now. Here to tell you, I'm going to give away spoilers because I'm going to mention like the general idea of the film. So if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you go check it out. Basically, the movie is about a young boy, a poor boy that grew up in India. He grew up in poverty, and all throughout his childhood and growing up into his early teenage and early like adult ages, pretty much, um, he essentially had pivotal moment after pivotal moment after pivotal moment in his life, right? Having to survive and overcome poverty, having to survive and overcome violence, etc., etc. And so there were many challenges that the boy had to go through, many different pivotal moments that he experienced in his life. And for much of his life, it just seemed to all be random events. It just seemed to be bad things, right? Just bad things happening left and right. And it just seemed to be just a matter of survival. And as the years go by, he was fortunate enough to land on the show by luck, right? He was right by luck. He was fortunate enough to land on the show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Now, you may have heard of the show if you're based out of the United States, right? The show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire is essentially a game show where you go on and you answer trivia questions to make money. And each question you get correct, you basically increases your pot, right? Essentially how much money you walk away with. And each question you get right, the pot goes up and up and up until you reach the $1 million, which is the jackpot, right? If you get all the questions correct in order to the last question, you get the last question right, you basically walk away with the $1 million. You're effectively a millionaire. So the boy gets on the game show and he realizes that all of his previous life experiences and all of the pivotal moments that he went through in his life, that all seem to be irrelevant, that all seem to be, to have no meaning or serve no purpose. Each and every one of those pivotal moments basically gave him the answers to the questions that he had to answer on the show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, which ultimately led him to win the game and answer all the questions correctly and walk away with the $1 million. So I say this story, of course it's a movie, right? But I share this movie and this story with you because I want to ask you this question. What if the same was for you, right? What if all of the events that happen in your life were meant to happen? Now, I understand because the events happen in your life, they were meant to happen. But my question to you is, what if the events that happen in your life were meant to happen to build you up into something greater, to build you into the person that you were meant to become, to build you, to get you to where it is that you've always wanted to go? What if each and every event, each and every challenge, each and every obstacle that you've had to overcome built you into the person that you were supposed to be, into the person that you want to become? Right? Many people don't look at life that way. Many people will they'll look back at their life, they'll reflect at all the different events that happen, and they'll say, oh, so much bad happened in my life that it's just not, that it serves no meaning, it serves no purpose other than to deliver me misery and sorrow. But what if the pivotal moments that's happened in your life, same with the main character in the movie Slumdog Millionaire, right? All of those pivotal moments and events that happened in his life prepared him for that moment to become a millionaire and answer all the questions correctly. What if all the moments you've experienced in your life happened on purpose for you to build you up into the person that you were meant to become? You will begin to look at your life completely differently, because you will begin to feel and realize that everything does have purpose, that everything does have a meaning, right? That it's just not random like everyone likes to say and believe, right? That there's more to life, that things are a lot more calculated than you think. Let me give you guys another example. Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple, he's famous for sharing the story about him dropping into a calligraphy class, right? He explains that he randomly popped into a calligraphy class, which basically is just everything about understanding the different types of fonts, right? Understanding fonts themselves, understanding the spacing between the lettering, understand what makes great fonts great, right? And he was in this class 10 years earlier in his life. And so I don't know the exact timing, but let's say he was in that class 10 years prior to an important moment that was supposed to happen in his life, right? So after attending the class and learning what he learned, right, many people will say that is a random, insignificant event and insignificant class to attend. Well, funny enough, 10 years later, when it came time for him to invent the Mac, right, the laptop, of course, and the computer itself, the Mac, right, the Mac revolutionized the industry, the computer industry, because it was one of the few new products to have revolutionary calligraphy, revolutionary typography, right? The fonts were very different and they looked absolutely amazing and beautiful, and it helped make the Mac stand out from the competitor in Windows, right? And that happened because Steve Jobs took what appeared to have been an entirely random class of calligraphy. But he took it because it was interesting. It was, for him, it was sort of a beauty. He explained that it was like a beauty that science couldn't explain, right? And so he made sure, because he was in that class and he took everything he learned from that class, he made sure that those same ideas, those same concepts, that same beauty was also present in the Mac, right? And that is what propelled, one of the reasons that like the Mac propelled forward and eventually, helped Apple become the company that it is. Now, of course, Apple makes iPhones and all this stuff, right? I'm sure it takes the same calligraphy and typography that it used from the computer itself onto the phones, right? But you can see how such a small and seemingly insignificant event and experience ended up playing such a major role in his life 10 years later that he wouldn't have been able to anticipate or predict. See, some people are so quick to jump the gun and say, oh, all these events happen, they're bad. All these events happen, there's no reason for this. It's just to make me sad or mad or to put me through misery. But you don't know if those tough times, those pivotal moments are there to build you up, to help you develop the right character, to help you develop the right attitude so that you can show up even stronger and better in the future. You don't know if these moments happen in your life so that it can help mold you into the person that you were supposed to become, right? Some people may have been raised around toxic human beings, right? Or, people with rude attitudes and all these things. What if that was done on purpose so that you can see, so you can experience contrast, right? So you can see someone who's rude, negative, nasty all the time, and then being around that's when you decide that that's not what you want. That you see this all the time and you tell yourself that you're not going to end up like this person, that you are going to choose to live your life with positivity and positive energy, right? Maybe you beginning from humble beginnings wasn't actually all that bad, because although you had to face trials and, maybe some nights you had to go hungry and it might have been a struggle for survival, but maybe those humble beginnings were crucial for you to understand the true worth of a dollar, right? So that when you do become, well, of course, rich in spirit and rich internally, that you will eventually become financially rich, financially wealthy. And then when you're in that position, you will help every other person you cross paths with, because you understand what it's like to come from humble beginnings. You understand what it's like to be in other people's shoes. And maybe that's what helps you to become so relatable and down to earth, because you understand what it's like to be in other people's shoes, to experience hardship, to experience adversity. Maybe that was all part of the plan. Maybe All these events were meant to shape you, or meant to give you the information or the knowledge or the wisdom or the attitude in order that you needed in order to then win. What if all your life events was all a build up to right now, or to where it is that you're going to be, right? Then you probably won't be so mad at everything that unfolded in your life, right? Because the same way with the young boy in India from the movie, right, that he had to overcome poverty and violence and all these bad things that unfold in his life, it was probably all a matter of survival the first part of his life, only for it all to come back full circle, and then for him to realize that all those events were meant to unfold so that he can end up being the winner and becoming the millionaire on the spot. So maybe all the adversity you went through is for you to uncover your own riches. First and foremost, your internal riches, and then eventually financial wealth, right? Financial abundance, right? Maybe this was all just different chapters of the book to then finally come full circle for the finale, right? Maybe it was like that. So I want to wrap up this video by highlighting the title for you guys once again. Everything in life happens for a reason. Things don't happen by accident. Things don't happen randomly. Things don't happen by mistake. Things don't happen by coincidence. Everything in life happens for a reason. Everything is calculated, and there's going to be instances where events may unfold for you and you may not know why it's happening, or you may not have an understanding for it for many years, for decades. But there will likely come a time where it'll all make sense. There will likely come a time where you'll just have your light bulb moment. That epiphany will go off and you'll be like, wow, had this event not happened to me years ago or decades ago, right, by accident or by coincidence, I wouldn't have been ready for the moment right here, right now. Right? Some of you may be questioning why something can't unfold for you sooner. Well, maybe something didn't happen sooner for you because maybe it just wasn't the right time for you. Maybe you just weren't ready. Maybe you just needed to experience more life experiences itself to prepare you and to help make space for you to win now, right? Maybe that's what needed to happen, right? So question life less and begin to accept and appreciate it more. Begin to see it all as a perfectly unfolding experience and journey towards where it is that you want to go, towards where it is that you're headed, towards the person that you becoming, and to the person that you will be becoming. See it all as an interconnected, singular journey. And if you begin to see life that way, you'll begin to appreciate it a heck of a lot more. So that wraps up the video. Enjoy the video. Do leave a like and subscribe as we're on the road to 1 million subscriber, guys. So once again, it's Joel, and I'm out. I'll see you guys for the next video.